Hey, Greg here for Partyfile. Got Scott behind the camera. We're going to cover something that used to be kind of complicated, but is no longer as complicated. And it's about Warbeast's Frenzying. So, basically what happens during your maintenance phase is that the Warlock leeches the number of Fury points that it can up to its maximum, and then any living Warbeasts with Fury points remaining on it have to make a threshold check, and that's very simple. You roll 2d6, take the result of that 2d6, add the number of Fury points remaining on the Warbeast, and if it is greater than their threshold, then the Warbeast frenzies. If it doesn't, it does not frenzy, and the Fury points remain on the Warbeast. So we're going to go down and show you how to resolve frenzy attacks and frenzy situations, hopefully covering everything that will happen. And it's actually very simple now. So let's go down and take a look. Okay, so this is a situation here. We got some circle jerks, and they're fighting some Khador jerks. And it's the beginning of the circle player's turn, and Tanith has leeched Fury from her Warbeast. She's up to her maximum Fury, and at the end of the turn, Getorix still has 3 Fury on it. So I make the Frenzy check, I roll an 8, plus 3 is 11. That exceeds his threshold level, so he freaks out and he frenzies. So in the Frenzy rules, the first thing that you're going to do is you are going to shake any effects that the Warbeast is under. So that means if it is knocked down and stationary and shadow bound, it shakes all that stuff without generating any fury or anything like that. If it is under the effects of a spell or a feat or something that requires it to forfeit its movement and or action, it will ignore that effect for this this frenzy activation, and then it will declare a charge against the closest model, friend or foe, in its line of sight. So in this situation, since he's frenzying, he shakes any effects and ignores all forfeitures, and he's going to charge the model in his line of sight. Now this World Weird over here is the closest model, but he's not in Getorix's line of sight. So this World Weird over here is in his line of sight, and it is the closest model, so Getorix will charge directly, and that's the important part. He has to charge directly towards the model he's charging. There's no like going out here or going out there. He goes directly towards until he makes contact. And now he will resolve his charge attack. It is boosted, the charge attack is boosted, but the damage roll is only boosted. It is boosted. Scott's doubting me here. The damage roll is only boosted if you complete 3 or more inches on the charge. So in this situation, the World Weird was 2 3/4 inches away from Getorix, so the damage roll will not be boosted. And the Warbeast will use its highest POW melee weapon, and if it has the capability to warp, like Warp Wolves do, it will warp for strength, because its desire is to do as much damage as physically possible. Now, and then at the end of that model's activation, it's important to know that this is the Warbeast's activation for your turn, so it will not get another activation for the rest of your turn. It's just going to stand there. You can choose to remove as many of the Fury points on the Warbeast as possible. So I can say get rid of all 3, or if I'm concerned that I'm not going to have enough Fury at the end of my turn and into the next turn, I can leave 1 on there or something like that. Okay, so let's cover probably a weird thing that's kind of happened a few times to me, is that what happens to a Warbeast when it frenzies and it has no models in its line of sight. So let's say this is the situation here, and once again, for whatever reason, yeah, let's take that out there. Getorix is back here. He's just killed a Colossal or something. That's something really super awesome over here. And he's still got 3 Fury on him, or I've primaled him. He is going to frenzy. So he shakes all of his effects that are on him. He ignores forfeiture, and now he has to declare a charge against a model in his line of sight. In this situation, there are no models in his line of sight, so what happens? It's been ruled that if there's no model in your line of sight, the Warbeast forfeits his movement and his combat action, and his activation ends. And just like with other frenzies, you can remove Fury points from him as you desire. Can you elaborate on that?
Like say it had sprint.
Yes.
So under the frenzy, kill something.
This is the model's activation, and this actually came up in a game when I was playing Kaya 3. Kaya 3 grants reposition to models, and reposition is at the end of the model's activation. The model can advance 3 inches. Because the frenzy attack or the frenzy activation is the model's activation for that turn, effects that trigger at the end of that turn, like reposition or sprint, can be triggered. because it doesn't say that you don't do anything else with the War Beast. It still ends its activation, so you can sprint or whatever. Other things that may trigger on it, like say synergy. If I was playing a synergy caster and I had synergy was still upkept, obviously, because I haven't paid for it, but it's still in play at the time when the War Beast frenzies. If it hits an enemy model, it will add a point to synergy even before I get to the point of activating models or that type of thing. So that's a very good point. So that's frenzying. It is a lot simpler than it used to be in Mark II. Basically, under 90% of circumstances, the War Beast will charge directly towards the nearest model in its line of sight. So that is pretty much set frenzying right there, all summed up in that one quick little sentence. There's a few oddball situations, like there's nothing in its line of sight, or like Scott said, end of activation triggers, or that sort of thing. If a War Beast has snacking and it's damaged and it kills an enemy model, living enemy model during its frenzy activation, it can snack that enemy model. That's totally permitted as well. So any of those abilities that are optional that can still be triggered during a model's activation are permitted. So that's frenzying. Good luck. Enjoy your wild War Beasts.